Hey guys, welcome to the last lecture of our book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This lecture is on part 4 and is called How to Change People Without Giving Offense or Arousing Resentment. There are 9 suggestions that Dale Carnegie, the author, gives that we're going to go through today. The first part is called If You Must Find Fault, This Is How You Begin. He suggests by beginning with praise and honest appreciation in order to build that person's confidence in themselves before you offer criticism. This puts people in a better position before they accept your help. The story in this part of the chapter that stood out to me the most was the story of the bank teller, who was having difficulties balancing out. Coworkers were beginning to get frustrated with her because of her inability to do this simple task. Eventually, another coworker came over to her, and the bank teller immediately became upset and nervous because of the way that the past coworkers have handled the situation. But rather than yelling at her, she offered praise for her friendliness, accuracy, and speed on the other parts of her job. This immediately boosted the girl's confidence, and she was eventually able to balance out with no troubles. By offering praise and appreciation, it gives people more confidence and are thus more accepting of criticism. The second part of the chapter is called How to Criticize and Not Be Hated for It. He suggests calling attention to people's mistakes indirectly so that they are more willing to follow your suggestions. Calling out mistakes indirectly almost makes people feel as though it's their choice to change. No one likes no one likes direct orders. So by dropping the hint that your coworkers should do something, it makes them more inclined or willing to do it. The story that I thought was interesting was the drill sergeant who convinced his unit to shave their heads. He called them leaders and set the tone of the unit by getting his own haircut. He never actually issues a direct order, but makes it seem as though it was their choice to get a haircut. As a result, many of the guys did get a haircut. Had the sergeant issued a direct order, I think everyone would have gotten a haircut, but they would have done it less willingly. We all know what it's like to take orders from our parents, such as doing chores. It makes us not want to do it. But if they had just hinted to us that it would help them if we took out the trash, we would be more inclined to do so. The third part of the book is called Talk About Your Own Mistakes First. Talking about your own mistakes first makes people feel better about making their own mistakes because they know that they are not the only ones. Dale suggests but tells a story about an engineer and his secretary. His secretary makes a lot of grammar mistakes and spelling errors in her work, and so the engineer tells the secretary about how he used to make a lot of errors in his work, but he started to look things up before he would send his work to other people because it makes him look more professional. Try and take a second to think of a time where you made a mistake and were corrected by someone without them first pointing out a mistake that they've made. Did you guys feel a little embarrassed? The fourth part of this chapter is called No One Likes to Take Orders. This is similar to the second point that Dale makes, but goes about addressing it in a slightly different way. He suggests asking questions rather than giving direct orders. Asking questions makes people feel as though they're entitled to give some kind of input into what they do. It makes them feel that much more important. Dale mentions a story of a manufacturing plant in South Africa. And a large order came in, and his team was already busy. Rather than ordering his coworkers to figure it out and to get the order shipped, the manager asks his team if they think that they can handle it and what can they do in order to handle it. And it worked. The workers said that they can do it. I'm just curious to know what Dale would have suggested had those coworkers given the manager an answer that he wasn't looking for, like saying that they couldn't do it. Then how do you handle it? At that point, do you just give a direct order? You have to push harder to try and coerce your coworkers into giving you the answer that you want. I don't know. What do you guys think? So part 5 of the chapter is called Let the Other Person Save Face. This part of the book has a story of a market researcher who made a big mistake in her research. She admitted it to her boss that she made the big mistake, and rather than yelling at her, the boss simply mentioned how others have made mistakes on new projects before her, and that's not uncommon. If you think about it, this is kind of like part three of this chapter, pointing out your own mistakes before you criticize. He then gives her compliments and praise for her hard work thus far, which, if you think about it, is kind of like the first part of this chapter, giving praise and honest appreciation. By doing this, it allowed the market researcher not to be embarrassed in front of her coworkers and helped her to keep her confidence. The sixth part of this chapter is called How to Spur People On to Success. Dale suggests doing this by praising the improvements that people make. He tells a story of how Charles Dickens submitted several manuscripts that were all turned down. He wouldn't give up until one day one of his works was finally accepted. The editor praised his piece, which inspired Charles to keep writing. The author also notes that, quote, "The principles taught in this book will work only if they come from the heart," end quote. Insincere praise will not have the same effect on people as real praise. So moving on to the seventh part, give a dog a good name. What Dale means by this is that to give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. Giving people a reputation to live up to pushes people to do their best and not to let the other person down. The story that Dale puts in this chapter is about an office that was not being cleaned as well as it used to be. So the dentist wrote a letter to the cleaning crew telling them that they've done such a great job in the past that he would be willing to pay them extra for them to stay longer to clean some of the things that they've been missing. This gave the cleaning crew an incentive to live up to and a reputation that they used to clean the office more thoroughly. Just curious, have you guys ever been in a similar situation? Try and think of a time where you guys have been caught slacking off and you were called out, so you had to start putting in more effort to live up to your full potential. The eighth part of this chapter is called Make the Fault Seem Easy to Correct. One way of doing this is by using encouragement. Dale tells the story of a friend who was taking dance lessons. The first teacher that he went to said that he was doing it all wrong and he had a long ways to go. This discouraged his friend to the point where he wanted to take lessons from someone else. And so he went to his second teacher. The second teacher told him that he has the basics down and that he would just need a little more work. Out of the two perspectives, they had profoundly different effects on the friend. The first one made him want to quit, the other made him want to finish his lessons. By making him feel as though he was close, it gave him more confidence. So the last section of this chapter is called Make People Glad to Do What You Want. Dale gives 7 aspects of what it takes to be an effective leader. I'm not going to read them off to you. I'll let you guys read them on the slide as I talk. But what he suggests to do is to help teach you guys how to align what you need done from your coworkers and align that with the interests of your coworkers. By aligning these two things, it will help someone to be more willing to help you. If you consistently make someone do something that they don't want to do, it will put a strain on your relationship. If you have to think about the interests of you have to think about the interests of that person. Try and find common ground with that person, and they will be more willing to help you. They may even put in more effort into the task, and will help the overall morale of the office. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned a lot from reading the book. Have a nice day.